It was a great course, like so much variety. It's like ridiculous how much you can learn in 10 weeks' time.
What made you want to be a firefighter?
So it's quite interesting. I think the idea of being a firefighter wasn't something that was kind of always there for a long time, and I think that's more to do with whether or not it was achievable. So for me, it was a case of, oh, I'd love to do it, but could I actually do it? Could I get to the stage where I need to be? It sounded like the perfect job on paper. It sounded like a job where I can be active all the time. I can continue to develop my skills. I can give back to the community. And then I love the idea of the shift patterns as well.
So when did you start?
So we did the recruits course first. So that was at the beginning of this year in January. And we had a 10-week recruit course. So that was at TDC. Staying over there, and then once you pass out from that programme you then start on station. So I joined Maltby Blue Watch at the end of March, beginning of April time, so I've been on station about 4 months now, so still very, very early in the career.
And how did you find the course?
At TDC?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was each week had like a theme, so well, not a theme, like a focus, and so you kind of had quite a lot of variety whilst you were there. There was different elements, I guess, because you've got like the physical aspect, which is, you know, certain weeks were a lot more physical than others, and the training that goes into that. And then also the amount of information and knowledge that you kind of were taking in and trying to digest and understand and process. That was also kind of a huge part of it as well. So it was intense in the sense that you had a lot of physical stuff to do and a lot of like mental stuff to be getting on with as well. So it definitely kept you busy, it kept you tired at night, and you know, you were going straight to bed as soon as you were ready, kind of thing. But it was a great course, like so much variety. It's like ridiculous how much you can learn in 10 weeks' time. And then obviously the people that you're doing it with, they're all recruits as well, and you're all in it together. So it was quite nice to have those people that some had experience, some were from kind of relevant backgrounds, some weren't. So I loved that you were then working and training with completely different individuals, and you all kind of had a common goal of trying to get to pass out at the end of it all, really. And it's quite interesting because I think the relationships you build on your training course you kind of carry right the way through. I know there's like a lot of people out there who still speak to people who've been on their recruits course, and all of us still stay in touch with each other.
What was it like the first time you got on station, or like got on that first time on a fire engine? What was it like?
It was really simple stuff we had to do first, like learning how to open the doors correctly and getting on and off it correctly, which sounds really silly, but there's processes, you know, to keep you safe. So also each position on the fire engine kind of had a number, and you have a purpose if you're sat in that seat. So for it was really simple actually, understanding where you sit on a fire engine has a purpose and knowing that. So for me, I was like, gosh, I didn't even realise that. I thought you just sit wherever you want and whatever happens. So I remember first time sitting on it thinking, I didn't even think that would be a thing. And then we just had to kind of, I remember rotating around the fire engine and, okay, what number are you now? What does that mean? Okay, what number are you now? What does that mean? And you had to know, if I sit in this seat, what would my role be? If I sat on that seat, what would my role be on a job? So, and then obviously the first time you get on a fire engine in station and you go in, and, you know, the blue lights are going, and that's a different experience in itself. Like that was, shockingly, I was really excited and really looking forward to wherever we're going. So there's so much kind of enthusiasm for whatever the job was. I think the first time coming on station though, so you come to visit your crew before you actually join them. You start station, you're nervous, you're excited, you're keen, and it was just, okay, I need to, as quickly as I can, figure out what is on this fire engine and what am I going to need and what is the name of everything and where is it all positioned. And, you know, if my gaffer says to me, go and get X, do I know what that is and could I go and get it? So I remember thinking, right, I need to learn this pump as fast as I can, and I need to make sure I've got my kit correct, ready to go in the right places. So it was just that kind of wanting to know and wanting to learn as quickly as possible so I could be useful and not be a hindrance on my first couple of shifts. Yeah,
it must be getting quite an adjustment, like being ready to kind of drop everything and suddenly go.
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting because when the bells go, I was like the first one to run, like almost to the fire engine and be like, okay, I'm ready. And then they were like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this is what we do. And they kind of showed me more of like a methodical process to, this is how we get to it. This is how we read about what we're going to and get ready during the process. So obviously we get from control a little bit of an overview, but sometimes there's bits of information, you know, that your watch manager will try and figure out on the way there, or they'll speak to other people. So whilst you're in the back, you can figure out, okay, if we're going to this job, I'm going to need to make sure I've got that on me, and that on me, or I'm going to wear this kit for this job. Whereas previously I was like, yeah, we're going, we're just going to go to a job, we're going to go. And suddenly, like, those couple of minutes, you actually have to kind of make sure you're fully kind of making the most out of those minutes before you get to a job. And it's not just about the exciting journey to get there. It becomes, this is so crucial, this period of time. So when we do arrive, we can go straight into what we need to do.
So have you been to many incidents yet?
I think when it first started, in my head, I thought you're at an incident every minute of the day. I thought you are in back-to-back incidents, and that just kind of isn't the reality. There's a lot of kind of downtime periods. Obviously, you're doing things like you're doing your drill, you do your fitness, you do your kind of morning checks, training. But it was more the back-to-back kind of jobs wasn't a thing. So I was like, okay. So it was trying to get used to when you have jobs and what type of jobs they're going to be. But then obviously recently we had the heat wave where there was a major incident declared, and that was back-to-back jobs. And I was like, oh, this is what I thought it was going to be. And that was great, but exhausting. So I was like, right, okay, I understand why we don't have back-to-back jobs now. So you do need it. So yeah, in terms of, like, I guess the jobs I've been able to attend, the major incident was, obvious, you know, for Yorkshire itself, South Yorkshire, it was a hard time. There was a lot of pressure on the service, and, you know, everybody, not just kind of firefighters, but control staff. There was so much pressure going on around to achieve everything, but it did mean so early on in my career I got so much exposure to big jobs. So we had some kind of huge wildfires, domestic fires, like, you know, 3-4 property ones, and they're devastating, and it's so sad that it happened. But in terms of kind of development and getting to try and utilise my skills, there was the opportunity there for me to really get stuck in and really kind of, okay, let's get the most out of every single job there. So yeah, so we've had some bigger wildfires, bigger domestics, and then more recently a couple of RTCs as well. Again, they started off kind of little ones, and then, you know, you get the big 3 lorries, transit van, 5 cars, like the big one comes along, and you're like, okay, well, we knew it was going to come at some point, so just make sure that the skills there, all those drills that you've been doing kind of on station, they're all ready to go, all your learn pros, everything. Sometimes turning up to the bigger jobs, it could be overwhelming, it can feel overwhelming when you turn up and there's, you know, it's either a huge wildfire or it's multiple properties, or like an RTC with multiple casualties, and you've got to prioritise. I think the biggest element of that is that, as I said, the time period just before you go to a job, those couple of minutes or however long you've got that time with your team, with your crew anyway, and your watch manager will be going through any information they've got, anybody else they've spoken to, and that's that process time. Okay, if we are first in attendance, what is our priority? If we're second, if we're third, what is our priority? And that's to any of the jobs. So that kind of helps you visualise what you may turn up to and what you may have to deal with. And then from that point of view, you can think as an individual, right, if we're turning up to that, I'm expected to do this. What am I going to need in order to do that? Who's going to need my help, or whose help am I going to need as well? Because it's all done as a team. You're not doing it individually at all. You're all working together to kind of achieve what needs to happen. And I think as well, though, you do drill on station and you're given the most weird and wonderful scenarios, but there's a reason for that. And when you're at TDC and you do your recruits course, they will give you some scenarios that you can't even imagine you're going to go to, but there's a reason why they've come up with them. You know, obviously it's happened before, and so then you can kind of quickly go through your catalogue in your brain. Okay, actually I've had exposure to this. What did we learn? What did we think about? You're not going to know all the answers, especially not as a recruit. Like, you've not got a clue. You're so, like, well, I'm so early on in my learning journey compared to people who've been doing it for 20, 30 years. But with that, it just means you can ask questions. So I'm happily sit on the way to a job and be like, right, what would happen if this, or what do I need to do? If I'm in the middle of a job and what I think I was going to do doesn't work, it's so easy to then ask whoever's with me. So if I'm in BA and I've got my fellow kind of partner in BA, I'll just ask them. Or if my gaffer's there, I'll be like, okay, what do I need to do? This didn't work. And so it's okay to kind of not have all the answers straight away, but utilising whatever skills or knowledge or resources you've got to try and get to the solution, or make, like, kind of the end goal, get to wherever it is, depending on the type of job. But with me being a recruit, there's no expectation for me to have the answers. It's kind of the best time to learn and to ask questions, and making sure that I keep on top of my knowledge and keep on top of my skills to the best of my ability for someone who's 4 months in.
Yeah, but you're just learning all the time,
Oh
aren't you?
yeah, 100%. Like constantly asking questions, and it's really good actually because sometimes you'll have people come in from other stations. So whether you need a driver or there's somebody who's kind of off, so that the shift's getting covered, and that means that they're then bringing in a whole new set of skills and knowledge as well. So again, it's if they're doing a pump check in the morning or what have you, then if they're a driver, I'll go round with them, and because they might pick up on something that's not been shared with me yet so far, or they might tell me about a trick that they do to quickly achieve something. So they might say, oh, if you set yourself up like this, even when you have that job, you can pull that off quicker. And I'm like, great, that's a little trick, like a little fast win that will save me 10 minutes in the future. So a little 10-second kind of fix now will make that job so much easier when we get out there.